The matter of fact is that you cannot be a developer if you don't know JavaScript programming language. JavaScript is the most popular language right now, and it uses almost every single structure. If you want to build front-end app, if you want to build mobile application, if you want to build backend, if you want to build operating system using the framework, if you want to build the APIs, any tools you can imagine, right now it's possible because of JavaScript. So JavaScript is absolutely popular whether you are working on a Web 2 space or a Web 3 platform. In this video, I'm going to give you a complete roadmap for a JavaScript which you have to master in the next 3 months. So hope this video will solve your problem about JavaScript, that what you have to learn and what you have not to learn. This roadmap is divided in 3 different categories. So the first category we have marked with green color, and this categories talk about the beginner topics which you have to start. So if you are completely new to programming and you want to learn JavaScript, then these are the topics which you have to cover, which marked by green. The second we have marked with purple, and this are intermediate topics. So once you master the complete beginner topic, then you have to start with intermediate, and then comes the last one, which is advanced topic. We have marked with a black color. In this you have to know about the advanced concepts of the JavaScript. We have close to 20 modules in the JavaScript roadmap. So the very first module we have introduction to JavaScript. The second module will have all about variables. The third module will have is data type. The fourth module will have typecasting. The fifth module will have data structure. The sixth module will have equal comparison. The seventh module will have is loops and iteration. The eighth module will have is control flow. The ninth module will have expression and operators. The 10th module will have is function. The 11th module will have is strict mode. 12th module will have is using this keyword. The 13th module will have is asynchronous JavaScript. The 14th module will have is working with an API. The 15th module will have is classes. The 16th module will have is iterator and generator. The 17th one we have is modules in JavaScript. The 18th one will have is memory management, and the 19th one will have is using Chrome Dev Tools. And then you have to come to the other frameworks. So we're going to discuss about each one of this module in detail, that what are the topics you have to cover in details in each one of this module as a beginner, as an intermediate, as an advanced developer. Let's start with the very first module, introduction to JavaScript. Under this you have to know what is JavaScript, what is the history of JavaScript, JavaScript version, how to run the JavaScript. So these are the important concepts you have to clear, because when you will sit for the interview, they're going to ask you about these basic things to check your concept about the JavaScript foundations. Now let's come to the second module, which is all about variables. Variables are a very important part of any programming language. All the data structure, all the logics you're going to use building this variable. So under the variables we have couple of subcategory which you have to know. You have to know what is declaration variable, what is hosting, what is variable norming rules, what is variable scope. So under the variable declaration we have 3 different type of variables: var, let and const. So you can declare a variable in any one of these type, but the most popular one right now we use is let and const. Var is getting depreciated. And under the variable scope you have to know what is block, what is function, what is global. So that's all about variables which you have to know in the module second. Now let's move to the third module, data type. You have to know that what type of data structure we have in JavaScript. So we have primitive data type. Under the primitive data type we have string, undefined, number, big int, boolean, null, symbol. So these all variables type is going to come into a primitive data type. On the other hand, we have called object type of operators. So under the object you will find that you will have built-in objects, you will have object prototype, you will have prototype inheritance. So these all comes under the object, and you have to know about it. You're going to be asked, definitely going to be asked when you will sit for the interview, that what is prototype, what is object prototype. All of these important concepts get asked over and over again when you will sit for the interview for any company. So that's the third one. Now let's move to the fourth module, which is a typecasting. Typecasting is also divided in 3 different categories. So we have type conversion versus correction. We have explicit typecasting, we have implicit typecasting. So we have 3 different types in typecasting module. Now let's move to the fifth one, and now let's move to the fifth module, which is a data structure. And data structure is almost every single thing about any programming language. You have to know that how data structure exactly work. So the data structure is also divided in 2 different categories. So we have index collection. Under the index collection we have type arrays, and arrays. So this two type of data will come in index collection. So when you will ask in the interview that what type of data collection we have in data structure, so you can say type array and arrays. Now on the other hand, we have collection is also divided in couple of categories. So we have map, weak map, set and weave set. So these are the things you have to know, that what it is and how it's exactly work. Under the data structure, we have the third point, which is the structured data. I believe that you all heard about JSON data type. When you will fetch and make an API requires, some API will send you data in the form of JSON, because JSON is very light and very easy to handle and render into the front-end component. So you have to know that what type of data structure we have when we make a call to the API, when we design the data into the JavaScript format. So these are the things you have to know. So let me repeat one more time that what we have into a data structure. So data structure is divided in three categories: index collection, keep collection and structured data. Under the index collection, you will have type arrays and arrays. Under the keep collection, you will have mapping, weave mapping, set and weave set. Under the structured data, you will have JSON. Hope so far things are clear that what are the topics you have to cover in data structure. So that's the fifth one. Let's move to the sixth module, which is a equality comparison. And comparison is very important when it's come to building a logic and doing certain things based on certain logics. So in equality comparison, we have three different type of comparison. It's called value comparison operator. So you will have this 2 equal sign, 3 equal sign and object is. So you have to know that what is mean by 2 equal sign. You have to know that what is the mean by 3 equal sign, what check you are doing there. And under the equality algorithm, there are a couple of things, like we have is loop equal, we have is strictly equal, we have some value 0, we have some value. So these are the topics we have to know when it's come to equal algorithm. So they will ask you that what is the equality comparison we have. Under that we have this equality algorithm. So what are the subcategories we have, which we have to keep in mind when we are structuring and building the logic. So they will ask you that what is loop, is loosely equal, what is strictly equal, what is some 0, some value. That's all you have to know in equal comparison. So that's the sixth module we'll have. Now let's move to the seventh one, which is a loop and iteration. Obviously it's a very powerful concept which you have to know if you really want to render the data based on the API calls and based on the certain logic which you have implemented. And it's also divided into 6 different categories. We have for statement, we have do while statement, we have while statement, we have for in statement, we have for off statement, we have break continue. And break continue is also divided in one subcategory, which is a label statement. So you can see all together we have 6 components, 6 topics which we have to cover when it's come to loop and iteration. And we have one more subcategory under the break and continue. So we have so many topics to cover in loops and iteration. So that's the 7th module. Now let's come to the 8th module, which is a control flow. So control flow is also divided in 2 different categories and it has subcategories. So the first category we have conditional statement. What is conditional statement? If, else, switch. So these are called conditional statement, and you have to know that in which section and how you can utilize it and how you can use it for building a logic. So that's called conditional statement. Now we have exception handling. Under the exception handling, we have throw statement, try and catch finally, utilizing error object. So when you will make an API call, sometime the API will fail the request. So you have to know that how you can catch that particular error when you will build any statement. So you have to know exception handling. So they will ask you in an interview when you will sit for that, for JavaScript, that what is exceptional handling and what are the subcategories we have, which we have to keep in mind when we're building the if else statement logic. So that's the 8th component. Now let's move to the 9th one, which we have expression and operators. So operators are really very important in any programming language, and each programming language had its own operator. So you have to know that what operator you have to utilize for building the logic. So we have assign operator, we have comparison operator, we have arithmetic operators, we have byte-wise operator, we have logical operators, we have big int operators, we have string operator, we have control operator, we have common operators, we have unbinary operator, and we have rational operators. So these are the important operators you have to know. It's really huge, but you have to move your head around to understand that how you can utilize it, how you have to utilize it to build a logic in your application. That's the 9th module. Let's move to the 10th module, which is a function. All of these concepts are important, but function is one of them which you can't ignore. So function is also divided into multiple categories and it has subcategories. So the first category we have under the function is defining and calling function. So you have to know that how you have to declare a function, what are the conditions you have which you have to follow for defining a function. Now the second one we have is function parameters. So what are the parameters you can pass when you are calling a function? So you have to know that. And under the function parameters, we have two different categories. We have default params, we have rest params. So you have to know what are these. Now the third category we have into the function is arrow function. What is arrow function? Arrow function is really powerful. After ECMA 6, which I will talk about like downline the video, that what is ECMA 6, but arrow function is really powerful. Okay, so you have to know about arrow function. You have to know IIFES. What is it? You have to know about it. Then you have to know about the argument object, what it is, how you can build the argument into functions and utilize it. Now we have the scope and function stack, and it has three different categories. It have recursion, elixir, scoping, and closure. Closure is really confusing topic. I believe that many of you don't know how closure work in JavaScript, and in most of the interview questions they're going to ask you that what is closure. That's the definite question you're going to be asked, to build a logic on the closure and to explain. So that's the one subcategory we have. Now we have built-in function. So you have to know that what is built-in function we have in the functions section in the JavaScript and how you can utilize it. So these are the couple of things which you have to know. So again, let me repeat that we have defining and calling function, we have function parameter, arrow function, we have IFES function, which is not that important, we have argument object, we have scope and function stack, we have built-in function. So these are the topic which you have to cover and its subcategories as well. So that's the 10th. Now let's move to the 11th one, which is a strict mode. So sometimes what happened that we have to apply certain conditions very strictly based on the certain conditions. So on that scenario, we have to use this strict mode, and it's always very important that you have to know that how strict mode exactly work. Now let's move to the next model called using this keyword. This keyword is really powerful when you will do object oriented programming. You have to know that when you have to use this keyword, how this keywords refer back to the data into the function and class constructor. So it has subcategories. You have to know that what is function brownie, you have to know that what is in a math, what is in a function, using it alone, in an event handler, in an arrow function. So when you will use this keyword in each one of these conditions, and this keyword going to behave differently, so you have to know about it. You have to know that how it's going to handle explicitly binding, so how you can use this keyword to a specific condition targeting a specific binding. So under that explicitly binding, we have three categories. We have sell, apply, bind. So you have to know each one of this topic, that how you can utilize this keyword in these condition. Now that's the 12th module we'll have. Now let's move to the 13th module, async JavaScript. Async JavaScript is really popular these days after the introduction of ECMA 6. So when you will make a API call, you have to know that how data is getting fetched during the API call. You don't want to block the entire execution of the code. So that's why you have to handle certain data structure in async behavior. So the API will take time for loading the data, but you don't want to stop the entire execution. You allow the entire application to be loaded. So async JavaScript have subcategories. So under the async JavaScript, you have to know a couple of things. You have to know that what is event loop. You have to know what is set timeout, what is set interval. You have to know what is callback, promises. Under the callbacks, you will have callback hell. You will have, under the promises, you will have asyncs await. So these are the entire things you have to know, and this is going to be your lifesaver when you will work with an API. Okay, so these are the async topics you have to cover. Now let's come to the 14th topic, which is working with an API. Definitely later or sooner when you will work an application, you're going to use any type of API for fetching the data and rendering and providing to your users. So you have to know how you have to use your API in JavaScript to handle and fetch the information. So it has two different categories. It have XML HTTP request and fetch request. So this one is the most common one, but right now we have some advanced tool to make an API request. If you're using any type of framework, so we have XES and all of these things, so you can utilize those to fetch the data as well. That's the 14th module. Now let's move to the 15th one, which is a classes. You have to know how you can utilize classes in the JavaScript, how it's behave, and how you can build logics around the entire application using the classes structure. So you have to know about it. Like 5th module we are done. Now let's move to the 6th module, which is a iterator and generator. So you have to know about it, that what is iterator, what is generator, how you can generate the data, how you can render the data. So all of the things you have to know about it. So that's the 16th. Now let's back to the 17th one, which we call modules in JavaScript. So right now we have two very famous modules. We have CommonJS, and recently the ECMA 6 script modules is introduced, and that's totally a lifesaver, and it has a lot of features in it. and make the JavaScript programming language so powerful. So you have to know that what is CommonJS, what is ECMA 6 script modules. So that's the thing you have to know. Now we have the 18th one, which is a memory management. So sometime what will happen that will fetch information, and you have to use that information in such a way so it can be stay in the memory, and you can reutilize that entire data in your entire application. So you have to know that what is the memory management and how you can do that. So memory management is divided in two different categories. We have memory life cycles, that how long the life cycle of the memory, like cycle of the data, is going to be into the component and into the programming language. And on the other hand, we have the garbage collection. So what is garbage collection, and you have to know also as well that. And the last one we have is using Chrome dev tool. So that one is really powerful. When you will fetch and when you will work with the JavaScript, obviously you're going to interact with the browser, where you're going to do console log, where you're going to see that how long it's taking to fetch the time, how the logic you are sending. That's all you can able to find in the JavaScript Chrome browser. So Chrome browser is absolutely powerful for JavaScript developer to test the entire logic which you have built. It will allow you to debug your issue in your code. It will allow you to debugging memory leaks. It will allow you to debug the performance of your application. So these are the entire 20 modules you have to cover if you really want to master in JavaScript, and it will take you 3 months. To be honest, it will take you 3 months to understand every single thing deeply if you give 4 to 5 hours every single day. If you try hard and give you 4 to 5 hours every single day, it will help you a lot. And I would recommend you that if you are totally beginner, if you want to learn JavaScript, then you have to take this course from Udemy, provided by Jonathan. I'll link in the description. It not cost you much, but it will save your life. It will give you the right direction, and it will help you to build your JavaScript development concept very fast, and you will build real world application as well. So that particular course will help you a lot. I learned from the same course, and I believe that if you guys follow that, it's a pretty huge course. It has a lot of things. It has projects, so you will learn every single thing which you have to know about JavaScript. So I must recommend you to follow, no matter you're a beginner or advanced developer, take that course. That will save your life and save your time. So this is the entire roadmap for a JavaScript developer. Hope you guys have found this video valuable. If you still have any confusion, any doubt, do let me know in the comment section, and do let me know if you guys want to know anything else about the roadmap and the project which you want to build. So that's the only thing I want to talk about. Hope you guys have found this video valuable. If you still have any confusion, any doubt, do let me know in the comment section. I would love to help you in that. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.